Hello everyone. I'm going to try to give you a very quick overview on a new model 2019 New Holland Boomer 40. When I purchased this tractor brand new, they had just become available, and what I found was there wasn't a lot of information on the internet, and I thought, you know, it might help other people if I make a real quick video and tell you a little bit about it. I can maybe start out with some basic specs on it, and then maybe in a second video we can go inside the cab. I can show you how that's laid out, show you how it runs, and tell you things that I like and dislike about it. Give you my first impressions. But we've had it since late fall, early winter of last year. So we've managed to put about 40 hours on it over the winter. I've learned a lot about it. This is not the first tractor I've owned this size. We traded in our New Holland TC25D tractor. It was a ROPS model, and after having it for almost 20 years, it was a real tremendous workhorse. No complaints whatsoever on the TC25D. Extremely heavy duty, very well built, and highly recommended it back then. And you know, if you can find one now that's in good condition, don't hesitate to snatch it, because it's a real workhorse. But getting older, wimping out, I thought it'd be kind of nice to trade it in and get something with a cab and something with just a little bit more horsepower. We've got about 6 acres here. We've got a fair amount of gravel driveway, a little over 1,000 feet that we maintain, and there's plenty of asphalt that needs to be plowed in the winter time. Alright, so this tractor was purchased brand new from my New Holland dealer located in Bluffton, Indiana. Really super good group of people. Every single one of them were very helpful, helped me make up my mind what I wanted. Anytime I wanted to go and sit in one, fire one up, take it out for a spin, never any problems with that. Started out looking at this, a 3000 series Deere and a Kubota. And unfortunately, at least in my case, the Kubota dealership up in Fort Wayne wasn't extremely receptive, in my opinion. It was kind of difficult getting information, and I don't know, just seems like they had a small attitude. And I thought, well, given that and the quick price that I saw on some of the tractors, I thought I would narrow it down to a Deere or the New Holland. It's not to say anything wrong with Kubotas, and not bad-mouthing them in any way, just saying my initial experience with the dealership up here didn't exactly excite me, so I stayed clear of them. So, being a 40 horsepower diesel engine, this is a what's called a Tier 4B compliant engine. Anything over 25 horsepower has got to be that. It's considered a high pressure common rail injection system. Uses a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, which is pretty cool. Produces 40 horsepower. Has an engine displacement of about 115 cubic inches. Has a very beefy electrical system. The alternator is 70 amp hour, so there's a lot of capacity for electronics, lighting, things like that. I'll get more into that later on. A lot of things came standard with this tractor, which really impressed me. As I make my way around, first of all, this loader is the 250 TLA. Not quite sure what the difference is between the 250 TLA and the 250 TL. And dealership didn't know a lot of difference between them either, specification wise, other than this is the newer model, so this could be the replacement. I went ahead very quickly, grabbed a piece of 1/2-inch steel stock, welded on some hooks, and there were some holes already in the bar stock here, so we utilized them to bolt it to the top of the loader, to the bucket I should say. It's a 72-inch bucket, which is a lot bigger than what I used to have on the TC25D. So you got to be really careful when you load this thing down. You have to have plenty of ballast on the rear. So anyway, getting back around to some of the features. First thing I like is the location of the fuel tank fill port, located right down here. It sure beats compared to where it was on the TC25, which was in the dead center up on top, and I used to have to jump up on the tire while holding a 5-gallon can and filling it up, which was a real pain in the butt. Also opted for the engine oil heater. You can see the AC cord sticking out there, and that sure makes it nice on very, very cold winter days when the tractor is parked in the barn. You can leave it plugged in and it keeps the engine oil nice and warm. Interestingly enough, there's not a separate heater for the hydraulic fluid. For a short time I did try a New Holland 54D out for a couple of months, and I found it actually to be a little bit too big, too heavy for what my needs were. If I actually did farming and or did livestock and actually needed the capacity, and makes sense, but the 54D was just a little bit too big, too heavy for my needs. So the 54D actually uses two separate heaters. There's two cords coming out, one for the engine oil and one for the hydraulic fluid. This one only has the engine oil. What else can I tell you? Oh, the rear compartment of the tractor. Interesting changes that they made over the years from the TC25. It surprised me that a lot of the metal components actually were thinned down. They're actually smaller and thinner than what they were on my TC25. So I don't know, I guess engineering figured out that they didn't have to be as big, and that could make the tractor a little bit lighter, and so some parts actually thinner and some parts remained the same. This tractor came with a set of dual spools on the rear, and that's going to make it really handy. A lot of tractors don't have any auxiliary ports on the rear. Some will have one, and the second one is definitely an option. This one came with a pair ready to go. Another nice new feature that the TC25 did not have was the way you adjust the arm to trim it. That square tubing with the welded U channels there are very, very handy. You just lift that up, rotate it. You can trim the right side of the 3-point there. So that's a lot easier than what it used to be on the TC25. This, for example, implement I've got on right now is a rear blade. I got it many, many years ago. Sandblasted it and painted it. I found a big hunky I-beam that I welded with my buzz box, AC buzz box. So we welded that all the way across, and that lets me drop in extra weights as they're needed. Sometimes it's just not enough weight, the blade by itself, when I'm dragging gravel, trying to maintain the gravel road and things like that. Sometimes it's nice when the blade is angled and I want to dig down deeper. Like right now I've got 200 extra pounds dropped in there, and I've welded in some brackets so that they can't move around, and I could actually drop in another 100 pounds if I wanted to. So what else can I tell you? A lot of standard features. Cruise control is standard. Of course, power steering is standard. Has an adjustable steering wheel. The seat is extremely comfortable. It's cloth, fully adjustable. Here's something interesting. While we're on this side and have the fuel tank in sight, the fuel capacity is 12.4 gallons. Well, what's interesting is you would think on the ROPS model the fuel tank would be the same or maybe even bigger, but it's actually just the opposite. The cab model here has a larger fuel capacity than the ROPS model, and this has 12.4 gallons. Cooling system, I can tell you quickly, whole 7.5 quart cooling. The engine oil uses 5.8 quarts. 8.5 gallons for the hydraulic fluid, which is used for the trans and hydraulics, and 6.9 quarts for the front axle, which I looked over, and definitely very, very beefy. Had a very heavy front axle there, which I really liked. There's the push button to raise the hood, so very convenient to get to and to raise the hood. So they made a lot of changes over the years, and a lot of them are really good. Another nice thing is the PTO. It's an independent PTO, electronic switch activated. It's not mechanical, which is really nice. What can I tell you quickly about that? Engine needs to be running at 2500 RPM to produce 540 RPM on the rear PTO. This tractor comes with a mid-level PTO, which someday may come in really handy if I want to power something off the front. And it needs to be, engine needs to be at about 25-45 RPM to get 2000 RPM on the mid PTO. Going back to the rear 3-point hitch, lift capacity at the ball ends, it's a little bit over 1,800 pounds, which is a fair amount. The hydraulic pump is gear driven, has a flow rate of 8.2 gallons per minute. This model here, I really like the hydrostat on the TC25D, so I stuck with a hydrostat on this. It's a 3-speed, very, very easy to switch between a low, medium, and high. It seems to glide in between one or the other. Every once in a while, you'll find that it doesn't want to go into one or the other, and what you do is you just tap the forward or the reverse pedal, and then you'll find that you can lock the transmission into another range setting. 0 to 3 miles an hour for the low setting, 0 to 7 on the mid, and 0 to 15 on the high range. The reverse speeds are the same as the forward speeds. One thing that I'm gonna save will be my likes and dislikes on the tractor. But I will say this right now, right off the top of, I'm not real crazy about the small wheel and tire size that New Holland uses on a lot of their tractors for the front, but we'll get into that maybe on the second video. I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit short, just give you a real quick overview, and maybe we'll make a second video. We'll jump inside the cab, start it up, run it around. I can show you where the controls are, and I can talk about some of the first impressions I've had, things that I like and things that I don't like about the tractor. But the front tires, these are all industrial R4 series, rated 25 by 8.5-14s on the front, whereas the rear tires are 43 by 16-20. Very, very meaty on the rear. I just wish the fronts were a little bit bigger. Let's see, just some cold specifications. Width of the tractor, wheel to wheel, is a little over 64 inches. Something interesting I saw for the ROPS model, it's possible that the width is actually wider on the ROPS model. It may be 74 inches. I need to confirm that, but it's possible it's wider for the ROPS model. The wheelbase is 66 inches, has a length of 120 inches. The tractor by itself, without the loader or that rear blade, comes in at just under 3,600 pounds. So it's a fairly stout little tractor. Height from the ground to the top of the cab is 93 inches. One other thing I can say about, just came to my mind, is so we were talking about the cruise control. It does have an engine speed management system, which is a very, very cool feature. An additional thing is the steering hydraulic pump. I know on the 54D it actually had a separate hydraulic pump. And this one here gives a specification that for steering there's a 5.3 gallon per minute flow rate. But I don't know if that's actually from a secondary hydraulic pump or not, or whether it taps off the primary. But there's a specification of 5.3 gallons per minute. So there you go, there's first looks. New Holland 2019 Boomer 40. Very, very awesome to use it during the winter. I'm usually not a fan of using a bucket for plowing snow, but with a large 72-inch wide bucket, I didn't have any trouble whatsoever pushing and clearing lots of snow this winter. And the cab, I can tell you, is to die for. Extremely, extremely comfortable inside the cab. I'm really happy that I opted for the cab model. You're not going to believe this, but it's absolutely true. There were days when it was about 5 degrees outside and I was plowing snow and ice on the property here. And I kid you not, with all the doors and windows closed, running the tractor, with sunlight hitting the windows and everything, I actually was running no heat whatsoever inside there. I was perfectly comfortable in a t-shirt, and it's 5 to 10 degrees outside. A lot of times when I'm using this tractor, I will actually be running, even though it's cold outside, I'll be running the air conditioning. I kid you not. It's that comfortable inside the cab. So don't be afraid of the unit producing enough heat. You will definitely be warm inside here. Heater works fantastic. Lots of vents to direct the heat exactly where you want it. Never had any fogging issues inside. But we'll get to that in the second video. But I just wanted to let you know the cab was well worth it. One final comment is this tractor with the larger loader and a 72-inch bucket, please make sure you've got plenty of rear ballast on the rear, especially if you're going to be lifting heavy loads, things other than hay or straw or things that aren't awfully heavy. This tractor with a big loader and bucket like that, and the cab unit tends to have a higher center of gravity than something like a ROPS model or like what I was used to on the TC25D. And I found out, luckily I didn't have any accidents with it, but moving some big piles of dirt over there, I could actually feel the tractor. Fortunately, I was going very slow, but I could tell that the tractor wanted to lean over a little bit farther and faster than what I wanted. So be very careful of that. Keep that bucket and loader down low, especially when you're carrying heavy loads, especially in the cab unit. I was very good with my TC25D. I knew exactly. I could load it up because it had a smaller bucket. I could load it up totally with dirt and clay and things that we have here, and I could maneuver it every which way over small hills and bumps and things like that, and I never had any issues with it. This tractor here, like I said, the center of gravity is up higher and it's a little bit easier to actually tip it over, so be careful of that. So anyway, we're gonna cut this video off right here. We don't want to make it too long. I hope this gives you a nice first look at the 2019. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask me. I'll try to answer them for you. And I know there's a lot of information, a lot of questions that I had that I couldn't get off the New Holland site. So if I can help, just holler. And of course, if you like the video, give us a like. We'd sure appreciate it. And one final note is hats off to the guys who make some really awesome tractor videos. This is my first tractor video, and I'm finding out just how difficult it is to make a good video. So hope to get the second video up soon where we're actually inside the cab with the tractor running. I'll show you where the different controls are and how the tractor actually operates. So I'll get this up and posted. We'll see you guys later.